Welcome to Stochastic MLB Live Before Lock. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with Matt Belman. You can find him on Twitter at FantasyTipsMatt. This show is produced by Jordan Klein. You can find him on Twitter at Jordan D. Klein. And this show is sponsored by Owner's Box. We've got a fantastic deal. If you are into NFL DFS at all, highly recommend signing up with Owner's Box. Fantastic deal, as I said. So it's you sign up at Owner's Box, you're going to get your first deposit matched up to $500. It will be a drip bonus, so be aware of that. But get your first deposit matched up to $500. Fantastic deal there. On top of that, you get a free week of the Stochastic Sims Max tool. That is, I don't know what the exact value of it, but it's a high value tool. You're going to want to check it out if you haven't already done so. And on top of that, you also get one lightning lineup entry. Those are really cool. I don't think that I think that I've won like 3 out of my 4 of these lightning contests. They seem a little bit soft to me. Maybe I've just gotten super lucky, but highly recommend checking out Owner's Box if you haven't already done so. Of course, you must be 18 years of age or older to play. If you are someone who has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. While you're coming in, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Matt, that was a long intro before I bring you in here. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. I feel a little bit naked without my AirPods, but we'll get through it.
Oh, do you? Uh-oh.
Yeah, we'll trek along. Feels like a Monday to me for some reason. I don't know. How about you? How was your weekend?
Yeah, well, I feel like because of the football slate going into Monday for me, like Mondays and Thursdays, I guess, and Saturdays now are my busiest days of the week. So yeah, it kind of feels like almost like the weekend to me, actually, like coming off of Monday being so busy. I don't know. It's very strange. Today I haven't had a lot to do. So I've been kind of cleaning around the house. Just my wife's out of town. So I've been trying to pick up a little bit. Didn't have much else to do today. So yeah, it's been a good day for me. I'm ready to talk some MLB though. I've been doing some drafts on Underdog, trying to get some MLB drafts going there, but have not set my DFS lineups. Have you started setting your DFS lineups yet?
Yeah, only making a couple, so have them in. Things could change. I know that the Yankees lineup came out a little bit ago, and it is not strong. So puts a guy like Cutter Crawford, who I wasn't playing, more in play. Yeah, man, excited to talk this out with you. Has the weather there cooled down at all?
Yeah, it's cooled down quickly. Like I feel like it was a week ago, it was like super hot all the time, and now it's like I don't know. It's gotten kind of cold that time. Right now, I am sweating a little bit, so I feel like it's warmed up a little bit. Earlier this morning, I was really cold, like had to throw on a sweatshirt. I hate that. Like I know I live in Minnesota, so people assume that I love the cold. I don't love the cold. I love summer. I love spring. I do love fall as well. But like once it starts getting cold, I don't love that aspect of the fall. But I can deal with it. I have to relearn how to do. I'll bring my flannels back out. Everybody, will be happy to see the flannels again. Apparently, people do better when I wear my flannels. I don't know. It's cool down there as well, though.
Yeah, it is kind of similar to you. It was really, really hot, and now it's cooled down. I like the fall weather, though. I'm with you. I don't like the cold, but I like the medium. Like, I don't like it when it's too hot either. So I like the fall. I like the smell of the air. Like, One thing nice about the Midwest is we at least get like 4 true seasons. At least we used to. Still kind of do. So it's nice to experience them all. Yeah, man. So I'm excited. Football's obviously here. How'd your football DFS weekend go?
So I missed lock on DraftKings. I think I actually came out like with prop betting with like prize picks and stuff. And actually Owner's Box, I cleaned up on Owner's Box, pretty low volume. But like I said, I won a lot of those lightning entries. And then I actually came out ahead on the Owner's Box main slate as well. So did pretty well there. Came out ahead a little bit on FanDuel and on DraftKings. I played one entry in the $100 milli, which did not cash. And I barely didn't lose a ton in the $5 milli, but fairly low volume for me this weekend. Probably turn it up a little bit next weekend, but yeah, I think because I won one $200 slip on prize picks or something. Maybe it was on Underdog where I put $20 and made $200. So I ended up doing okay on the weekend, but nothing big for me. And anything big for you?
No, I only played 2 lineups on DraftKings. That's it. I was busy Sunday morning, so didn't really have that much time. Both my lineups were very similar. They both had Eckler and Tyreek Hill, which obviously was needed, but I stacked the Browns in both. So I used Watson, Cooper, Moore. Watson was fine, but as soon as I saw that the game start and the weather was awful, I knew that I was in for a rough ride. My big issue was my run back. I only used one Cincy run back. It was T. Higgins, who 0 catches on 8 targets. So that's typical, not typical NFL, but that stuff happens. glad I didn't play more lineups.
Yeah, and then of course last night if you played that, Obi-Wan says that he had 0 Aaron Rodgers last night. I was not so lucky. I had a lot of Aaron Rodgers last night, so that didn't really go well for me. Did you play that at all?
I just threw a couple in the lotto in like the 15 or whatever it was, and I didn't play Aaron Rodgers in much at all, but I didn't play the Jets D either. So
yeah,
kind of needed the Jets D with the 4 turnovers and the touchdown. Not as much as you needed Dallas D the night before, but the D's have been dominating lately.
Yeah. Shout out Scout 326, a longtime professional player, took it home solo win for $1 million. That is pretty awesome. That's cool. I think it's even cooler on a showdown slate than like a regular millie, because you gotta think extra to get that solo shot. So very cool for him to get.
It's just so hard to
millie.
be different.
Yeah, it is hard to be different. You have to think outside the box on those showdown slates. Of course, I love doing it.
Did you see also that like the optimal lineup wasn't entered in the millie, but someone entered it in like the $1?
No, that's so painful.
I know.
So what did they win?
7,500.
Oh, that is brutal.
It is brutal, but that person, I think it's only brutal if like that person like dabbles sometimes in the millie and sometimes doesn't. Like if they never enter it, it is what it is. But if that's like the time they didn't enter it, that is an all-time. Might have to just quit DFS after that.
Yeah, exactly. That would just be like, if it's the one time you don't play it, that would be more painful. But yeah, we have Michael Campbell, who's sometimes in the chat. You're not sure if he's here today, but I know that we've talked before on slates where he's been like, how would this lineup have done in the main contest? And it was like, oh, you would have won $100,000. And he's like, whatever. Like there are some people who take that pretty well. For me, it would be a little bit, I would feel a little bit of pain if that happened to me, but it's all about your personality. And as you said, it's all about what you usually play. If you never play the millie, then yeah, no skin off your back. You want to talk some MLB?
Yeah, man. Fun slate back in the MLB. It seems like just with a couple days off over the weekend, like everything's brand new. But the playoffs are coming, so I'm excited to talk out this slate with you.
Yeah, we got another Coors slate, another Cubs and Coors. I think they did. I actually don't remember how it went yesterday. I entered some lineups yesterday, but I don't actually remember how the Cubs ended up doing.
They scored 5.
Okay, so they kind of underwhelmed. Then we'll see. They're once again looking like the best team tonight. But let's start with the pitchers. Let's start with the top end of the pitchers, because I'm a little bit surprised to see that Justin Verlander is not our highest on DraftKings. We have Freddie Peralta has higher top 2 pitcher odds. I guess he's facing Miami. Not the biggest surprise. When I was looking earlier, Joe Ryan was also ahead of Verlander. Maybe that was a different site. But
no, he is.
We have. Oh, okay. Maybe I need to refresh. Now I'm seeing Verlander ahead of Joe Ryan, which is less surprised. I was surprised to see, okay, yeah, I refreshed. Now I see Joe Ryan ahead of Verlander again. So a little bit surprising to me that Joe Ryan has higher top 2 pitcher odds than Justin Verlander. But so let's talk about those top 4. I feel like there's kind of a tier break after those top 4. We got Freddie Peralta, Joe Ryan, Justin Verlander, and Max Scherzer as the top 4, and then a little bit of a break down to Brian Wu, kind of a different price range. Tell me about your level of interest in these pitchers, 9,500 or higher, the 4 that I just mentioned. Any big fades for you? Any that you're going to be well above the field? How are you approaching it with those 4?
Well, to start off, I think the guy that's just really, really hard to get to is Scherzer. In the worst form of all these guys right now, in the worst spot, like the second most expensive. I think really the only reason to play Scherzer is to get contrarian, if you're using chalky bats. The problem with that is if you're using Scherzer, it's hard to get to the Cubs bats. And that's really the only offense that, you have to worry about getting different from. So I find it extremely difficult to get to Scherzer today. I'm a big Max fan. He can always go out and dominate, but rough spot. I mean, Toronto's good. They don't strike out. So really hard to get to Scherzer. The other 3 all look good. I personally think Verlander looks the best because he's priced in the middle and I think still in the best spot facing Oakland. Our tools say Peralta's the best, but Verlander's over 1,000 cheaper. So I give the slight edge to Verlander. Won't be surprised at all if Peralta has a better game, but he's just too expensive for who he is, close to $12K. I know it's a good spot against Miami. Woodruff dominated them last night. I just think he should be more in line, like priced with Verlander. Instead, he's not in a different tier, but over $1,000 more expensive. And then Joe Ryan in like opposite fashion. I don't like him quite as much as Verlander or Peralta on a raw points basis, but he's cheaper than those guys in a tough spot against Tampa, but they will strike out. He's shown that he can be a guy with elite strikeout upside. So I like all three of those guys. I think my favorite two are Verlander and Ryan because of the pricing. I like Peralta more than Scherzer. It's almost impossible to make a rational case for Scherzer except for the ownership. But I think Ryan and Verlander are my two favorite top guys.
All right. Einsteinium says this is a smash spot for Max Scherzer. Toronto against righties are pretty meh. Scherzer looks pretty good. So I'm just giving you the counterpoint. So you say it's hard to get to Scherzer. I mean, he is fourth of the four in the top two pitcher odds, but he's coming in at 9% ownership, 18% chance of being a top two pitcher. So we do have some positive leverage there. You're just concerned about the form? Like you think that maybe we're not factoring in, like maybe he actually is falling off a little bit at the end of the year?
Well, 2 starts ago, he left with a forearm issue. They said it was no big deal. He left through his own accord. He went through 6 innings. Then last start, I know it was against Houston, but he got shelled. He didn't look great. I don't really care about that. If he were the same price as Joe Ryan, probably play him over Joe Ryan, but he's $2K more. And I expect similar outputs from them. I think that projecting Scherzer as the least raw points, as the lowest between those four is the correct way to do it. That doesn't mean Scherzer can't dominate. I know their lineup's a little bit weaker. Toronto's, that is, with no Brandon Belt. You got Spencer Horwitz in there. So I get it from a contrarian play, but to say it's like a smash spot when Peralta's facing Miami and Justin Verlander's facing Oakland, not to me it is.
Right, not relative to those other guys. But Max Scherzer, if Max Scherzer is asking to be taken out of the game, I didn't even know that he has that switch in his brain to be able to say, I'm in too much pain to continue pitching. He seems like the kind of guy who's just like,
I don't think I'm
going to throw lucky now. Yeah.
I agree. I don't think it was a too much pain thing. I think I don't remember if the game was out of hand. Okay. But they said it was no big deal. He did make his next start, but that is definitely, I agree with you. Never have seen that in the past with Scherzer where he's a guy that always pitches through everything. So, am I going to be surprised if he gets hit a little today and then they say he's out for the year? No. Right.
Okay. So Scherzer is your number 4 of that group. All right, let's move on down the line a little bit. Brian Wu kind of stands out at 7,900. Looks like a really nice spot with the Angels here. He is 5th on the board in terms of top 2 pitcher odds, but getting the ownership as real, 26% projected ownership there. Let's talk about everybody down to 7,900. So we have Lance Lynn at 8,400, Ryan Wu 7,900, Edward Cabrera, Michael Wacha, Hyunjin Ryu. Who do you like of this group? 7,900 up to 9,500. Who are you the most interested? Anybody that you're not playing any of?
It's Wu. I know he's overowned. I know you're going to ask me that. Is he getting too much ownership? He is. Our tools say that clearly. 15% chance to be a top 2 pitcher, 26% chance of 26% ownership. So yeah, he's coming in with too much love, but the spot is great on paper. And I personally, like I said before, if you're playing Cubs, I'd probably want to get different with Wu and not play Wu with Cubs. Okay. But I'd rather get different with my bats on a slate where you can get different basically anywhere but the Cubs. So I like Wu here. I think he's in a cushy spot against the Angels at home. We've seen their lineup just be decimated. He's not going to throw a ton of pitches. I don't expect big upside from him, but he's shown that in good spots, he pitches well. So I'm a Wu fan here. I think the reason you get to the other guys, Cabrera, Wacha, is ownership. Those guys aren't going to get any love. They're in the same price range as Wu, and you got to do something to be different if you're playing the Cubs. So that's the case for Cabrera and Wacha. Lance Lynn's an interesting one because he's shown when he's pitching well to be the best pitcher of this group, even better than Wu. But he's in a tough spot against San Diego. He's in awful form. He's gotten absolutely shelled this past 2 starts. I think 5 home runs given up. So not playing him because of that, but that's not signs of endorsement going into a matchup against the San Diego team that's got a really good offense. I view Lynn similar to as I do Scherzer, at different price points because they should be. I get why Lynn's getting a little bit of love. I don't think he's going to end up being, I'd be more surprised if it was higher than the 14% we have projected for as opposed to lower. So he looks interesting to me just because of where he is on the top pitcher tool. In a vacuum, another guy that's really hard to get to in my eyes.
Let me ask you about FanDuel, because I know that you're a both sites guy. We have Brian Wu
Sure.
at 9,500 on FanDuel and concerns about the pitch count. Do you think he's playable on FanDuel?
I think he looks a lot worse on FanDuel. I mean,
Okay.
he's like, I wouldn't personally. Is he playable? Yes, especially because the case for him on FanDuel is he's not going to get a lot of love, but he's almost the same price as Joe Ryan. He's 600 less than Scherzer. On DK, he's over 3K less. So pricing matters. Like ultimately, a big reason I like Woo is because he's under 8K.
Right.
Not because I think he's going to be the highest scoring pitcher on the slate, which on FanDuel, like you don't need him to be the highest scoring pitcher on the slate, but you need him close at least at that price with only one pitcher. Not for me on FanDuel.
Okay. Yeah. And you also you're hoping to get that quality start bonus on FanDuel. Probably not gonna less likely to get there.
Yeah, if he gets into a little bit of trouble, he just doesn't have the leeway.
Yep. All right. Figured that was worth talking about since you brought up the pitch count concerns. I do want to address one thing. I see Florida man Jake Swales in chat saying Tyreek Hill is the hardest dude to guard in the NFL, and it's not close. Come on, Florida man. You're just being biased. Once again, Justin Jefferson is clearly the hardest receiver to guard in the NFL. You're just totally wrong on this, Jake Swales. So sorry.
I was thinking about this last
there.
night. The tiers of wide receivers, there's good wide receivers right now. I think that Hill and Jefferson are in the top tier. And then after that, it's Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, Diggs. I do think Hill and Jefferson are the top two guys, though. And you could really argue it either way.
Yeah, I'm kind of joking. I do think they're obviously Hill, he's so fast. Jefferson doesn't have quite the speed that Hill has. So it's a little bit of a different thing.
Well, I think in terms of who's a better wide receiver, it's Jefferson.
Right.
Because
he just
he's
doesn't have
better
the same physical talent.
Yeah, exactly. But Hill is, it's just that they're both so different and both so good. It's fun to watch.
It really is fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, so that's interesting that you don't consider Jamar Chase in that same kind of level. I mean, Devontae Adams, I think, is up there. Cooper Kupp, I actually think, is in that conversation.
I think those guys are right below. Diggs with them too.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Diggs very strong as well. Yeah, there are a lot of great receivers at the top, but clearly Jay Jet's number one of that group. I forget. Are you a Bengals fan?
No, Browns fan.
Browns fan. Oh, that's why. Yeah, that's why you stacked up the Browns. Of course, that's why you stacked up the Browns. All right, that makes sense.
We looked really, really good. I mean, since he basically at the beginning of the fourth quarter, they were like, "Peace, we're done." They didn't even bring out Burrow, and they went for it on a fourth down, didn't get it. Garrett got the sack, then the Browns scored a touchdown. After that, the Bengals threw in the towel, which is also really disappointing for both my stacks. That at the beginning of the fourth quarter, down 21-3, since he was like, "We're done."
Yeah. Yep. That's bummer for your teams. Good for your Browns, I guess.
Yeah, really good for the Browns. Interested. They play on Monday night next week in Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh off a blowout loss, Browns off a blowout win. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's definitely hyped on week one for sure. Yeah,
and I'm having the exact opposite feeling toward the Vikings losing to Tampa. You cannot lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. It's
typical Minnesota.
It is so Minnesota.
Easily see them winning tomorrow, though, or winning on Thursday. Philly did not look that good to me, and I think Philly's really good, but I think they're going to take a step back this year. And Minnesota is just a classic team that they can beat anyone or lose to anyone. Their defense might not be able to hold up against Philly, but I do think that it'll be a game for sure, and they'll have a chance to win.
I love that take, but I just don't feel any confidence in the Vikings against the Eagles. I think the Eagles are just another class ahead of the Vikings. And you're right. They are the kind of team that the offense is good enough that they can stay in it with any team, but the Vikings defense is so bad. And I think Philadelphia is better on both sides of the ball. So I don't have a ton of confidence. I also don't think
Tampa's that bad. I like Tampa in that game, not to win.
Really? You don't think Tampa's that bad?
No, I don't. I think their defense is still pretty good. They're not great. I think they're live in the NFC South for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Maybe you think maybe the Bucks are better than I think they are. I think of them as being kind of like a bottom 5 team in the league kind of situation. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're going to surprise us this year. Maybe Baker Mayfield is a number 1 overall pick. And I'm just, he was, right? He was the number 1 overall pick.
By the Browns. I heard someone say today, in analyzing week 1, it's really tough because you don't know why you saw what you saw. Like Browns Bengals, for instance. If the Browns defense like dominates their next 5 games, then it looks better for the Bengals. You know what I mean? Like the Browns D is really good. If the Browns D sucks for the next month, then it's like, damn, the Bengals, like what's up with them? So you just don't know why you're seeing what you're seeing. NFL season is so interesting in that way.
Yeah, it really is. And signing him, how do I feel about my Twins today? I mean, I feel pretty good. We got Joe Ryan starting against Zach Little. I'll take that matchup all day. So yeah, I think I'm taking the Twins today. I think the Twins have better odds of winning today than the Vikings do on Thursday.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Okay, so moving down to the lower tier of pitchers. So just anybody under that 7,900 price tag. I'll throw it to you. Who are you playing? Is there anybody they're getting to in any kind of large way of these cheaper pitchers that might allow you to get up to the Cubs?
I think you definitely need to be looking at these guys if you want to play the Cubs, because the Cubs are uber expensive. They're almost Braves pricing in cores, which is what they should be. The Braves sort of probably been even more expensive in cores, which is crazy, but like
they should have 7,000. Like
I know,
Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna.
I think they even could, like, you could make the case they should have been even more, because I think Bellinger's $6,800 price tag is fine here, and he's certainly not as good as Acuna. So, you know, the Cubs are expensive. I think the two guys that you want to look at here are Cutter Crawford and Sean Manaea. Feel better about Crawford. You know, I think Manaea we have actually starting the game, which is nice to see. Don't project him for a ton of pitches either. Not a bad spot, not a great spot. We've talked about Cleveland a lot. They're not very good, but they don't strike out. Crawford's the interesting one. Hasn't looked great recently. Second game of a doubleheader, though, and this Yankees lineup looks awful. I think only Judge and like a bunch of guys didn't make the lineup. Let's just put it that way. LeMahieu's out, Stanton's out, Volpe's out. So Crawford at 5,700, like I don't love his raw points projection, but at 5,700 to get you the Cubs, I think he's a fine play.
Yeah, that's interesting. That Red Sox Yankee series is always like there's so much potential for fireworks, but maybe that's not as much. Like I don't think we've seen it as much.
Heard you say that before.
I've said it many times. Maybe I'm just wrong with this, but maybe I'm just remembering like the heyday of like they would just like put up 12 to 13 games like regularly, and I don't think they're and I think both the offenses still, like when everybody's healthy, they're still good enough offenses for that to be the case. But it has not really happened this year a ton, at least as far as I have noticed. So maybe that's a thing of the past. The Red Sox Yankees fireworks. All right. Any other pitchers you want to talk about on DraftKings?
Not really. I think it's the 4 guys up top. Well, 3, and then Scherzer in tournaments. Woo, and then Crawford and Manaea are like really the guys in play for me. Interesting that Lance Lynn is like in the middle there in the top pitcher tool. So yeah, just interesting to note that.
Any interest in Zach Little against the Twins? I mean, they strike out a good amount, and Little is 6,700. Looks okay in the top pitchers tool. 4% ownership, 14% chance of being a top 2 point per dollar pitcher, 7% chance of being a top 2 pitcher overall. So looks good from that perspective. Any interest there?
Yeah, I think you could have some interest there as like a way to get away from Crawford and still not spend a lot up at pitcher. He's not very good either, though. You know, like I get it from getting different from Crawford and Manaea. And I will say, like, yeah, he is, you know, much farther down in our top pitcher tool. But after Lynn, really, it's all kind of muddled. So, like, I get that point. Like, especially if you're playing the Cubs and you want to get different. He's not getting any love. He's coming in with leverage. So I don't hate it.
Look at our Apple guy coming in, like just immediately gifts out 5 memberships, just comes into chat, gifting memberships. Thank you, Chris Williams, for gifting memberships to the members. Of course, I need to turn that off for myself, because I don't think that I really benefit from I think he gifted me one like a couple weeks ago. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't even know if it benefits me at all, because I already have I have the rent. So I have all the access. I should turn it off and let other people get it. But appreciate you, Chris Williams, as always. What about let's just touch on FanDuel real quickly, see if there's any big differences outside of. We already touched on Brian Wu. Who is your favorite pitcher on FanDuel?
My favorite pitcher on FanDuel is, give me 1 second. It's a lot more like jumbled up top. Peralta isn't like way more expensive than Verlander. So I do think it's probably between those two guys. I mean, I like Ryan more on DK. I like Ryan with them on DK because he's considerably less expensive. Here, sure. He's not.
Right.
Peralta's the most expensive out of the 4 at 10.5. Ryan's the least expensive at 9.9. So for me, it would be either Peralta or Verlander. I think you can make really good cases for both. Verlander is getting a little bit more ownership, so I like Peralta more in that guard, but it's close enough where like I don't care that much. Peralta's higher in the top pitcher tool. I respect Miami more than I respect Oakland, so I give the matchup to Verlander. I think it's those two guys for me, and I, could see playing Joe Ryan also there, but I'd rather avoid Tampa, all the other things considered equal.
Okay. Malakar says Chris broke Neil. What did I say? I don't remember did I misspeak or something? I don't know. Also, people in chat, did any of you have big NFL weekends? We were just talking about our NFL weekends being pretty underwhelming. Do we have any big hits in chat? I just saw a reference to somebody having a big weekend. I'm curious how people did. Were you guys using the tools and making big money?
One other thing I just want to say real quick, because this matters. Projections and stuff matters. I don't, play just because of them, but the bat, a great projection service. They have Verlander 4 points higher than the next highest pitcher on the slate, Peralta. That's a lot. So
it's going to affect ownership.
That is definitely, that was going to be my next point. Definitely also going to affect ownership. That's just a lot, though. Hard for me to just look past that. You know what I'm saying?
The Viking Nomad says that he took down 50K. Is that real? Did you really? Where did you take down 50K? That's awesome. Was not aware of that. So that is awesome to hear. Also saw our guy Jorge do you see Jorge got 9th in the $5 milli? So it's like over 1 million entries, and Jorge ended up getting in 9th place. I was very impressive to see that using the Sims tool, of course. But all right, we can move on and talk about some bats. But before we do that, Jordan Klein, would you mind bringing up the lineup generator? Let's take a look at the MLB lineup generator for the slate. And Jordan, of course, I just saw he already has it pulled up. What a professional. Jordan just knows exactly what he's doing. All right, let's look at DraftKings first. All lineups, please. And then let's skip. Yeah. All right, save 20. Seeing a lot of Cubs in there, just on the small snippet of the screen at the bottom of the lineups. Oh yeah, it is letting you say. Keep going. Just keep. I feel like this happened to me the last time I used it. Maybe it went to 40. I don't know why. Scroll down the lineup. See if that works right. I think it actually does save 40. Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe it just we just need to change the wording of where it says max of 20. I don't know, but yeah, that is interesting. But not a huge surprise that we're seeing a ton of Cubs at the top. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 8 on the screen right now. Who's missing from the Cubs? I guess the 8-hole hitter was some guy I've never heard of.
Crow Armstrong.
Yeah, are you familiar with him, Belman?
Yeah, he's one of the top prospects in baseball. Elite center fielder, like good bat. He was 2K yesterday. He didn't play because it was a lefty, but he's a really, even in the 8-hole on a chalky offense, he's going to get love. I think he's fine as even a one-off, but certainly in a stack, I like him.
Yeah, is he in here? Can you scroll down a little bit, Jordan, on the player?
Want to hear something really interesting? A fun fact about him?
Oh, there he is. Okay. Yeah. Let's hear it.
The movie Little Big League. You ever see it?
That was like a 90s movie, wasn't it?
Yes. About the kid that I think that's the one where he took over the team. The twins.
Was it so I'm sure that I saw it when I was a kid. There's one with the Twins. There's one with the Cubs. The kid that broke his arm and suddenly was a major league pitcher. I don't remember which was the Twins.
That's Rookie of the Year, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, so I get them confused too. But either way, the main kid character in Little Big League, his mom in the movie is this Peter Crow Armstrong's mom in real life.
That is pretty nuts. Wow. Okay. So he was probably if she was old enough to be a mom in the movie in the 90s, how old is this prospect?
I mean, he's young, but we don't know that in the movie she could have been in her late 20s, just playing someone older.
Okay, yeah, maybe she was an older mother or something. Okay,
right.
That would make sense. Man, that is really funny.
Random.
So yeah, it was destined apparently for this kid to make it to the major leagues. But yeah, a lot of Cubs at the top. We see Joe Ryan, the top pitcher there. Got a couple Red Sox at the top there. Any big surprises for you in this, or is this kind of coming out how you'd expect it to?
It's coming out how I expect it to. One thing I wanted to ask you, especially like in the big tournaments, if you're playing 150, our tools have the Cubs very, very leveraged, like coming in under owned, etc. So they look like the team to get to. I'd counter that with like, not that I think they're going to get more ownership, which I think they will get more ownership, but putting that aside, they're still the highest owned team on the slate, like by far, double anyone else really. How do you like work that in?
So if there's positive leverage, that is really the thing that I'm looking
Okay.
at. Sometimes I will like make the assumption with that a team's going to be higher owned than they are, which can happen because a lot of people do look at our tools. So it is
Yeah,
possible we're going to see a lot of people are going to see 15% projected ownership, 26% chance to be the top team, whatever it is. And maybe they're going to be steamed up to 21, 22%, and there'd still be some positive leverage there. So to me, even though they're the highest owned team, if I'm seeing positive leverage, I'm building it in so I'm actually going to have more than the field, despite the field having really high ownership there. And you can get different with your secondary stacks. You can get different with your pitchers. A lot of different ways to, and of course, like even within the Cubs stacks, you can play the back end of the order. So for me, I still am willing to play above the field, even when we are getting some steam there. How about you? How do you approach it?
well, as you know, I play like smaller field, higher dollar tournaments, and I do
Right.
think that they will be much higher owned there. I mean, just plain and simple. When it gets to the point where, like, do I think they're going to be close to? Is their ownership going to actually be close to their top stack percentage? And I do in higher dollar tournaments. The back half of the lineup, no, but the top half definitely. And then you also have like Crow Armstrong hitting eighth. So I think in higher stakes fields, they're going to be close to a quarter owned, like all the way around when you average it out. So we'll see if that ends up happening. I think you have to, like we talk about a lot, there's a lot of nuance in this. Sometimes you're going to be wrong, especially if
Right.
you're trying to just project stuff yourself. But as I just said, there's a lot of nuance in this. Everyone's looking at the tools. You don't just want to be like everyone else, as you mentioned.
Right. The Viking Nomad, so he was pulling my leg when he said he won 50K. Now he's saying it was Philippines pesos, which I have no idea what the conversion, but I'm guessing it's not a strong conversion right there. So all right. But then also talking about Tara Reid, and I'm curious, was she in one of these baseball movies? And I just don't remember her. Why are we talking about Tara Reid now? I'm curious about that.
Definitely not one of the baseball movies like that I'm talking about, because the
Okay.
Little Big League and Rookie of the Year are like
Yeah, she would have been a kid at the
movies.
time.
Yeah, kids.
Which I mean, maybe she was a child actor.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Was she?
Orton's neckbeard says Rookie of the Year put some moves on prime Tara Reid.
Oh, that's impressive. She was hot.
Yeah, was she? But she was really young in the 90s. Maybe she's older than I realize she is. Okay. Emac says Ashley Crow. She is Neil's age now and was 31 to 32 in Little Big League. Emac, just why can't I block Emac from chat? That's all I want to do is to be able to block Emac from chat. Come on, Emac. Chris Williams, our Apple guy, says, "Hey guys, great show like always. Hit the like button, people. Yeah, please do hit the like button, guys. Atone, show love. These guys know their stuff. Bring yourself some good karma. Do you guys mind ranking your 3 favorite pitchers on the 3-game night DraftKings slate, please? Of course, we're happy to rank our 3 favorite night pitchers for you, Chris. All right, let's take a look at it.
Man, I just got to say real quick before we do that, I just looked up Tara Reid just because we're talking about her. She was hot, but
yeah,
looking at a picture of her now, I wish I just had not pulled her up. She does not look good.
That didn't age. I mean, everybody ages, whatever.
True. It's like
right.
The weird look for me though.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think she had a lot of plastic surgery and stuff, which it's never a fan. I feel like people should just avoid plastic surgery in general. But that's probably just because I only notice it if it's bad. So that's probably the only reason I have that opinion. All right. Looking at the night slate pitchers. So we're projecting Brian Wu for 63% ownership on the night slate. Lance Lynn for 40%, Sean Manaea for 40%, Patrick Sandoval, I'm now rounding up to the nearest 10%, 36% for Sean Manaea, 38% for Patrick Sandoval, and then just 10% for Michael Wacha, 15% for Cal Quantrill. I mean, I think Brian Wu is still pretty clearly the top pitcher on the night slate. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, he's so clearly the top pitcher that this is a slate where I wouldn't even mind like using Angels against him, because on the main slate, I'm not like overly worried about the ownership. Here I am, because he's the only option that you feel really comfortable with.
Right. Well, what about Lance Lynn? I mean, we have Lance Lynn as he's 500 more, projects just slightly worse. Obviously, I guess he's not comfortable because he's playing the Padres, but
Right.
on a 3-game slate, you're not going to generally be comfortable with everybody in your lineup. How do you feel about, would you include him in your top 3 here?
Yeah. I mean, you got to have 3 guys. So it's funny. I think Wu is the clear number 1. And I think that like Lynn, Manaya, Sandoval, and Waka, those 4 guys, you can really make a case for any of them. Quantrill's the worst pitcher. He's also the cheapest pitching in San Francisco. Interesting night slate. If I had to rank my 3 pitchers, it would be Wu, Manaya because of the price, and then Waka because of the leverage. Like Waka has basically the same top 2 pitcher as the other guys, and he's getting no ownership. So Wu, Manaya, Waka for me.
Wu, Manaya, Waka. Okay, that sounds good. Let's go with that. Okay, people clarifying. Tara Reid was not in that movie. She just dated the guy in American Pie. I don't remember which guy she dated in the kind of nerdy guy, right? Like kind of skinny nerdy guy. I rewatched all of the American Pie movies like within the past 2 years. I rewatched all of them just for like a very simple. I just wanted something simple. I wanted to just be entertained for an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. They're not great movies, but they're entertaining. Have you seen all the American Pie movies?
I have. I saw like the first one at least in the theater when it came out. I remember that. That humor just doesn't really do it for me anymore. I don't know why. Like, it's just
so simple. I mean, it's not great humor. It's very, very simple.
A movie like Superbad though, like Superbad does it for me. I could watch that movie all day, but
I haven't seen it in ages.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in years either. But like American Pie, it's just like, I feel like it's not too dumb. It's just the humor is just not my style.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, it's been a while. I'm trying to think like what were the peak. Like my favorite movie once upon a time was like Dumb and Dumber.
That's
no
hilarious.
idea if I would still enjoy Dumb and Dumber today. I know I loved it back in the day, but I don't know if I still would. Oh yeah.
You know what movie that I think about when I think of like really funny that plays that extends time is Something About Mary.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that in a decade or two.
I think I could watch that and it'd be funny.
Yeah, probably. I'm realizing that we're leaving Jordan hanging here. He's like, do I stick on this screen? Do I go to FanDuel? What do you want me to do here? Okay, he's going to FanDuel. Thank you, Jordan. I feel like everybody, like you can tell the age bracket of our chat because everybody gets hyped up. Whenever we talk about like 90s movies or like early 2000 movies, like that is our jam. Everybody wants to talk about those old movies. So I think that our general audience is like around our age or like within 10 years younger, maybe.
And not gonna lie, whenever I'm like listening to a show and you start bringing up stuff from like, then I always get juiced about it because like I love who doesn't love hearing about like their past, and every time you bring someone up, it's usually good. So
and just like remembering all these things, like oh yeah, forgot about them. All right, a lot of Cubs once again. Top 7 looks like top 7 bats all from the Cubs. Not a real surprise there. This time the rookie, the 8-hole rookie is coming in higher than he was on DraftKings. I guess he is 2.4. Yeah, 2,400. Yeah. That'll do it. Some Astros bats showing up here as well. Jeremy Pena, Kyle Tucker, Jordan Alvarez near the top. So pretty similar on FanDuel as well. Not a big surprise. We had 100% Cubs exposure, stack exposure on DraftKings. This is the same here. 97%. All right. So we got a lineup or two in there without Cubs stacks, which I don't know. Like I like to spread out my exposure. So like I don't want to have 100% Cubs exposure. I think I like to spread it out a little more. So even though I like to be above weight to the field, typically for me, I prefer to still be at least somewhat spread out. Sounds like you sometimes will only play a few lineups. So like in the NFL slate, you only play 2 lineups, but you're okay going to the same stack. Is it the same for you in baseball? Like if you're playing, I guess when you had the FanDuel Live final, you did red stacks in both of them, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. So you're okay with like just using the same.
It's slate dependent. Like last week, I'm glad you brought this up. Like last week, Tuesday, we did the show. It was that Millie Maker. I wanted to build in a little more cash equity into my lineups. So I built them like 2, like I didn't use any like 7, 8, 9 hitters because I didn't want to like lower my cash equity. A slate like tonight, lesser dollar contest, still like higher dollar. I'll focus on a couple teams and play them. I never like to spread myself too thin. Like in the 254 entry max, for instance, like you can't play everyone, even if you separate out. And I know some people will say like, you don't want your lineups fighting with your other lineups. I disagree with that. I just want my lineups, however many there are, to be close to the top. So I'm okay going into any night knowing that like if the teams that I use didn't do well, I'm probably not going to have a good night. But if they did, I will.
Yep. All right. That is a good approach. I mean, that sounds really sharp. I'm also reading chat again. Everybody talking about these movies. Of course, I'm reading a Road Trip. Yeah, I watched that one recently.
Oh, that's hilarious. That doesn't get as much love as it should.
I want to say this in a way that nobody's going to take as being political, but like I feel like so there's the nostalgia factor. I think there is also like you could make movies back then that you can't make now, or like you're going to get a lot of backlash. So I feel like that does affect comedy when you can't like fully make all the jokes you want to do. So I think maybe part of it is like we all go back to these old movies because they could make jokes that they can't make now, and even if it's like maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's for the best that you can't make those jokes anymore, but they still entertain us. So we still enjoy some of those old movies. So maybe that's part of the reason we always go back to these nostalgic movies.
Well, the other thing about remembering anything also is like when you remember something, whether it's an old girlfriend, times in college, like you only remember the good parts. Our brain's wired like that. Like you don't think about like, oh, all the bad times I had. You think about all the good shit you did. Because like, why would you want to think about the bad times? So when we're remembering these movies, I think we're remembering them in like their finest light, if you will.
That is also true. Yeah, that is a good point. We're remembering them, how we enjoed them at the time, and it kind of brings us back. There's a lot of reasons.
I was not a big movie buff. Were you?
No, I would never say I was a movie buff. Like I've always enjoyed a good movie. I think I like these days watch more movies than ever. Like I'll probably watch a movie tonight. I'll probably, get my lineups in. I'll go hang out, drink a THC drink, maybe a beer, throw on a movie, go to bed early for an early night tonight. But these days I think I watch more movies than I ever did when I was younger.
Yeah, for sure. Just because there's so much more access to it. Like when we were younger, I mean, we're about the same age. Like, what was on TV was what was on TV. And like you had to like pay for the movie channels and stuff. So like movies was going out and seeing a movie like was an experience, and going to Blockbuster. I did that a lot growing up for sure. I was just never like a huge movie buff. Seeing a lot of movies though, just from like the culture.
Right. Yeah, me too. And yeah, I've been, as you said, you're right. It's totally access now. It's just like, what should I watch? I've got Netflix, I've got Amazon, I've got HBO Max, I've got so many different platforms for watching movies. It's easier than ever to just like, I'll find something funny, or I'll find a thriller, like whatever I'm in the mood for, I can find it. It's right at the tip of my finger. So you're right. That is totally why we're watching them. Like I didn't go on my way to find them when I was younger, but now it's just so easy that I watch movies a lot more regularly. We should probably talk about some bats. So thank you, Jordan, for looking at the lineup generator. And by the way, guys, if you haven't signed up for the lineup generator, it is our cheapest, least expensive product available. And of course, we've got NFL lineup generator available now as well. If you haven't already checked it out, you can get our lineup generator for MLB still for 50% off using the link in the description of this video. We don't have a discount for the NFL lineup generator, but I highly recommend checking it out as well, because it is a fantastic tool. I'm loving these lineup generators. They really do make some great lineups. So check it out if you haven't already done so. And of course, for MLB, if you haven't checked it out, you get it for 50% off using the link in chat or in the description of this video. It'll be just $4.48 for your first week. All right, let's talk about some stacks here, Matt. And of course, I mean, the first place we have to start, and we already kind of started this conversation with the Cubs, that I am willing to be above weight to the field on the Cubs. Are you, refresh my memory, are you willing to play more than 15% of the Cubs? Are you willing to play more than 25% of the Cubs? What are you doing with the Cubs here tonight?
I think that they're obviously the best stack on the board. They're even like more expensive. Their lineup looks better than what their projected lineup was going to be. So it makes them even easier to get to. There are some guys that are really expensive in there, but there's some value in there as well. Suzuki's still really cheap. We talked about Crow Armstrong. They look like the top stack on the board. It's this game of cat and mouse, right? Like looking at this, like ownership, they look like the best leverage spot on the slate, even though they're getting a lot of ownership. Other people are going to see that and play them, but people are going to see that and then, not play them because of what I'm thinking, right? It's like ultimately this game of cat and mouse, and you can only predict so much. Like you got to use the tools. So based on the tools, they do look like the best stack on the board by far. I am worried about like in the higher dollar you go, the more concentrated ownership you get. And even in like single entry and, the 4-entry max stuff, like I know some people like to play their cash lineups there. That's not really like how I would suggest to do it because the top prize is so much bigger than everything else. So I do think that the Cubs look really good, but I also think that like you're going to need a lot to happen with the rest of your guys in your lineup if the Cubs go off here, even if they are coming in with leverage. This is an interesting spot. It's similar to Atlanta, how they were when they were in Colorado. I think Atlanta's offense is obviously better. Chicago's is less expensive. Personally, I'm not playing the Cubs in my lineups because like I don't want to sacrifice everything else and then play the chalky Cubs.
Sure.
But this is a perfect example of, they're chalky, but they're still under-owned.
Yep. Jordan Klein saying that we are old as fuck, noting that everybody in chat, like a lot of people responded with their ages, and it's like, I'm 41, I'm 43. So they really, like, most of chat does appear to be within our age range. Not a huge shock there. And then of course chat does get political. I knew it was going to happen as soon as I said, like, I want to say this in a way that nobody's going to take it to be political. Of course it immediately gets political. It is 2023. It's inevitable. Anyway, let's move on.
I also feel like the older generation, like our age, even like a little bit younger, as opposed to like much younger, likes like shows like this more, where like you're talking things out.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm completely off there, but that's just the vibe I get.
No, I think that you are right. I think that we enjoy having these conversations, being part of these conversations. All right. So the Cubs, the clear top stack. After that, though, we've got nobody else getting a ton of ownership. No, I mean, I guess we got Arizona at 10% ownership, Boston at 11% ownership, but nobody else getting like crazy high ownership. Who do you like outside of the Cubs? Starting with, actually, let's start with the chalk. So the chalk, we already talked about the Cubs, and then Boston, Arizona. How do you feel about Boston and or Arizona today?
I like Arizona a lot. They're getting too much ownership. The ownership's there, but I like them here. This Buto is not good. They're on the road. Not a great ballpark, but a high total here. So I like the Diamondbacks considerably more than I like the Red Sox. I like pieces of the Red Sox. Their leadoff hitter at 2,700. Like very, very good value, big speed upside. Story at like 4K, 4,100. He looks good. I think the ownership for Arizona is more warranted than it is for Boston, but Arizona's also getting too much love. I will say though, like, just talking this out, I think the Cubs are going to be higher owned than what projections say they will. That means that other teams aren't going to get quite as much love.
True.
I could see a team like Arizona getting squeezed out. Like, sure, Ketel Marte at 5,100 is going to get love, Corbin Carroll, but like, I think the back half of Arizona's lineup is not going to get much love at all. And as we talked about a little bit ago, I'm not afraid of playing that back half. So I do like Arizona, even though the ownership's there. Looks like less of a problem there than it does with Boston. And if you're not playing the Cubs, I'm not really worried about the Arizona ownership.
Yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, maybe it'll be reduced because people are playing the Cubs. That's a good call. Man, shout out to Chris Williams gifting 10 more memberships. Always appreciate you, Chris. Orton's next beard says, roll one up and check out the movie Baraka. Have you ever heard of the movie Baraka?
No, I haven't.
I don't think that I have either.
No, I don't know why this made me think of it, but you know what movie I love? This is not Apocalypto.
Not familiar with Apocalypto either.
Really?
Is that an older movie?
No, I mean, yes, but not like 90s, probably like 15, 20 years. Really good movie.
Interesting. Do you know where it is streaming, if anywhere?
I'm not sure. I don't know why that made me think of it, but it's a really, really good movie. Yeah, and they get like their tribe gets like ran upon or whatever, and like yeah. So
is it like kind of a thriller, or like what kind of movie would you say it is?
I don't know if I'd say. It's hard to define. It is a thriller. It's also like dramatic in ways too. So like drama thriller.
All right.
Yeah.
The Truth says don't like movies with subtitles, but that was fire.
I don't either.
Shareable says Apocalypto is effing awesome. So yeah, you're not alone here. Apparently, maybe I'll check it out.
I'm out on subtitles 99.9% of the time. Like for real. I do not like watching because I like being on my phone. This is why I like watching lighter stuff, because like I don't necessarily want to go 100% into it. Apocalypto is worth it. I might watch that tonight now. Damn.
Somebody said earlier that our generation has ADD. Yeah, I mean, we do. We all have ADD. We all have ADD, and that's part of the reason that I think, struggle. Some of us struggle sometimes with subtitles. I'm not totally opposed to it, but yeah, there are some days where I'm just like, I'm not going to watch anything with subtitles because I want to be on my phone. I'm doing other stuff, and you got to be able to hear. So yeah, I'm with you. It's you got to pick and choose your nights where you have the attention span to find something with some subtitles. El Che says Apocalypto is garbage. So we do have one detractor on Apocalypto.
Nah.
All right.
It's definitely no. There's no way you could see that movie and say it was garbage. You might not like it, but like, no, dude, no.
All right.
That's an awful take. I will rarely rag on anyone's takes here, but that is maybe the worst take I've ever heard in this chat.
Wow, that is strong, and then we have Brandon Katz in this chat sometimes, so that's a really strong to have the.
I feel like that's a take just to be contrarian. Like, there's no reason for the take. You're just trying to be contrarian. You don't have to be contrarian about everything.
Yeah, that is, you don't have to be contrarian. That is a very good point. Anthony Chow says he's just trolling or didn't have the attention span to deal with it. Yeah, I mean, some people like legitimately will just hate anything with subtitles too. No idea. I haven't seen the movie, so I'm not going to.
I'm like legit that guy, and I love the movie. I'm that guy that hates stuff just because there's subtitles, and I'm saying this movie is like amazing. One of the top movies, one of the 10 best movies I've ever seen for sure. Another movie that definitely. Another movie that I'm sure you have seen that I don't know why I've been watching clips on it recently. Maybe the best movie in my lifetime, American History X.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that one in a long time, but yeah, I loved it back in the day.
I'm a big Edward Norton fan too.
Yeah, Edward Norton, pretty great. Fantastic. Yeah, that was a great movie. All right. So we talked about the chalk teams. Let's talk about the contrarian teams. So who do you like? So we talked about just the top three: Cubs, Red Sox, Diamondbacks. Who do you like outside of those three? Like who are you playing that is a bit contrarian on this slate?
I love the Rockies. Same Coors environment as the Cubs. They're not as good, facing a better pitcher in Assad, but they're not going to get the ownership. We already have them coming in leverage. They're less value than the Cubs. I like Colorado a lot here. Assad is not a guy I'm afraid of picking on. He's had good starts. He's had bad starts. He's a middling pitcher. Colorado is my favorite team, ownership, price, and consider on the slate. I like them a lot. They've got cheap guys to mesh with their more expensive guys. Chris Bryant's back. Yay. I don't really care, but he does add another power hitter in their lineup, at least a proven major league hitter. So Colorado is my favorite stack / contrarian stack on the board. I think you got to throw Houston in there too. This is a situation we've seen recently where like Houston's not as good as Atlanta, but they're like right on the tier below. And every slate now where Atlanta's not on it, they're the team that's like at the top or near the top, especially facing Oakland pitching. We saw it last night. It did not work out. They were not good. Not shocked there. Mason Miller, who opened the game for Oakland, is one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. So, he pitched well. And then Waldichuk pitched well as well. So it is what it is. Tonight, they're in a similar spot against Sears. Houston's a team like similar to the live final. They hit home runs when they score runs. So like, I never have a problem getting to Houston. They're really expensive though. Like them and the Dodgers, another team I never mind getting to, are both coming in with leverage. They're both really expensive though. Like the guys you want to get to are 6K. Altuve is over, Mookie Betts is over. So I always like Houston and the Dodgers, especially on nights like this where a team like the Cubs is getting a lot more ownership. You just really have to like sell out to get there. That's why I like a team like the Rockies a little bit more.
Okay. We're going to do our dong picks, but I want to touch on this one thing. So Nicholas Robertson says, what about Charlie Sheen admitting to banging 1,000 chicks a year? That's not admitting anything. That is bragging. That is just Charlie Sheen bragging. And also, I don't really believe like when like the Wilt Chamberlain story, like, oh yeah, I had sex with 10,000 women. He didn't count the number of women that he was sleeping with. Like, I don't believe any of these stories when the numbers are that high. And I'm sure maybe there are some where that's true, but it's like someone was just like, that seems like physically impossible to me. So some of the claims that are made about how
they have to be counting like big group sex, like, because there's no way
I touched her while I was having sex with this other lady. Like, come on, what are you counting here?
I'm with you, man. I'm with you there.
Yeah, I'm not buying that stuff. All right. Let's do some dong picks. Or wait, first, any other stacks that you feel the need to talk about before we do our dong picks?
Well, it's just one of those slates where like anyone but the Cubs is, going to be a contrarian play. Even teams that are coming in, quote unquote, like, with negative leverage. Yeah, they don't look as good given our tools, but the ownership's not going to be anywhere really but the Cubs. So like secondary stacks, if you're playing the Cubs, is where I pay more attention to that ownership. Like if you're not playing the Cubs, I don't care that much about Arizona or even Boston's ownership. But if I am playing the Cubs, I don't want to use those teams with them.
Okay. That is a good clarification there. All right. So we can't do any bat in Coors for our home run pick.
Olsen homered last week when you picked him.
Did he really? See, I don't even I make the pick and then I immediately forget who I picked. Of course, Matt Olson was probably at 40% chance of homering in our home run tool. So like not the hardest thing when I'm just using the tools, picking the best guys there. Obviously have an advantage. Did your guy? I know you picked somebody like who was off the wall. You like to go for those guys who are going to pay you more when they work out. Do you remember who you picked? Or
he did not. I think I picked a guy that I don't know why I love this guy, Elahiris Montero. He did not hit a homer last week. I was thinking about it, but now after saying that, there's no way I can go there again. I'm going to go Marcus Semien. I'm not using him in DFS, but he's the first guy I think of facing Hyun-Jin Ryu back in Toronto. He's seeing the ball well right now. Give me Marcus Semien. Where is he on the tools?
Marcus Semien. All right, let me find him. We have Semien with an 18% chance of hitting a home run.
That's not awful.
So, yeah, it's not bad at all. It's it's not like it's not top 20, it's maybe top 30-ish.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's like baseball's so random where it's like, yeah, the top guys are more likely, but I'm fine with Semien there.
Right. And those numbers include all of the Coors bats as well, which is going to be a lot of those top 30 or so. So not a bad pick there at all. Of course, I have a better one for you. That being Yordan Alvarez, who we have with a 28% chance of hitting a home run tonight off of JP Sears. He's not in Coors. It's legal. Yordan Alvarez, totally a legal pick here.
Especially lefty on lefty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. So we got that going for it too. So it's just totally off the beaten path there. Bug Boy was banned. I don't know what I missed here.
One other offense I want to call out real quick. Yeah. Not as a full stack, but I like pieces, specifically Mike Yastrzemski. Cal Quantrill is not good. He doesn't strike anyone out. I mean, his numbers are awful this year. I don't like the park, the full stack San Fran, but like Yastrzemski leading off at 3,400 looks like one of the best one-off bats on the slate, honestly.
I don't know what Bug Boy is talking about. I don't even know who Evan Carter is. He says, I apologize for recommending Evan Carter for everyone. He may have averaged 11 points over 3 games, but I was banned for my take. So he
homered yesterday. So here was the take. Me and Engelman were on a show
okay.
At the end of last week. Carter had just got called up. He was hitting 9th for the Rangers at home. Carter's a good prospect. Has hit well in the minors. He's got good power. But he's hitting 9th at home. I can't even remember who they were facing. The pitcher was pretty good, I think, though. So he was trying to say he was a good cash play. He was not a good cash play, hitting 9th at home. That was all the argument was. I know I saw he homered yesterday, but it doesn't count for last week.
I can assure you that nobody was banned for that take. for making we have plenty of bad takes in here. Nobody gets banned for bad takes. So I obviously I was not there for it, so I don't know what the conversation was, but that's funny. It's funny to think that you were banned for a bad take. All right. That I think we have done it, Belman. Do you have any final words for the audience?
No, I'm on the Vikings on Thursday night, though. I really like them in that game. I watched a lot of that New England Philly game, and New England, but they were really in that game, and they moved the ball. They had a couple turnovers early, the pick 6 that killed them. They were very live to win that game, and I don't think that New England's that good. I think that Minnesota is in a good spot to potentially pull the upset. If not, I think they cover whatever the number is. Yeah.
Usman says Justin Jefferson getting 500 yards. Man, I hope so. And I got to say, I do feel even though the Vikings lost, I still love the offense. I think Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, that is going to be a dynamic duo. I don't know how it's going to play out with Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson as vying for those secondary targets. It'll be interesting. And KJ Osborne still involved. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out from a fantasy standpoint. But
they're the perfect DFS team because their offense is really good and their defense is not. So teams are going to score on them, and their offense is good. I think you're going to see a lot of Minnesota games worth targeting this year, especially at home.
Oh, for sure. And that So I love that. As a Vikings fan, Timberwolves used to be the same way, where they were like really good offense and like terrible defense. Like I love it. These are the games that I'm watching the most, and it's being able to just play them both sides in fantasy all the time. It is a privilege to do so. So yeah, I'm with you. It'll be fun. It'll be fun for fantasy all year. All right. Well, thank you, Belman, for having some confidence in my Vikings and for giving some great takes here today. Thank you guys for watching us here, and good luck tonight.